The one I've passed around so far has been the airport.
So this is the
Mm-hmm.
ordinance. Rick, Bob, and Amy Dembski. You know,
Oh, we got to do that? Uh-huh.
Was. I had to look at the one sheet because I said, hey, I'm last. I got bumped down.
No, I know. I was looking at that too. I was like, wait a
To
minute.
make sure I signed the right name. Like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm. Can I have the county budget form? It is 9:30. I'm going to call the council back to order, and we will open the public hearing on the 2023 DeKalb County Budget Ordinance. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the DeKalb County budget for 2023? Is there anyone opposed to the county budget for 2023? Hearing and seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and I will read this ordinance. Ordinance Resolution 2022-OCC-9. Be it ordained or resolved by the DeKalb County Council for the expenses of DeKalb County for the year ending December 31, 2023. The sums herein specified are hereby appropriated and ordered set apart out of the several funds herein named and for the purposes herein specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all expenditures authorized to be made during the year unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided for by law. In addition, for the purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of DeKalb County, the property tax levies and property tax rates as herein specified are included herein. Budget Form 4B for all funds must be completed and submitted in a manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government Finance. This ordinance resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval by the DeKalb County Council. Fund name, Casino Riverboat. Adopted budget is zero. Adopted tax rate is zero. Rainy Day Fund, $334,000. Adopted tax rate is zero. General Fund, $21,132,522. The adopted tax rate is 0.4052. Reassessment, budget is $527,018, and an adopted tax rate of 0.0235. Debt service, $225,100. Adopted tax rate is 0.0089. Convention and Visitors Bureau, Adopted budget is $525,000. Adopted tax rate is 0. The Highway Fund, $5,484,953. Adopted tax rate of 0. Local Road and Street, adopted budget is $665,000. Adopted tax rate is 0. Hume Bridge, adopted budget is $2,253,500. Adopted tax rate is .0196. Health Department, adopted budget is $661,789. Adopted tax rate is .0230. Emergency Telephone System, adopted budget is $578,889. Adopted tax rate is 0. Hume Cap Development, adopted budget is $1,653,760. Adopted tax rate is .0307. Economic Development Income Tax, adopted budget is $2,923,000. Adopted tax rate is 0. Transportation, the adopted budget is $125,000. Adopted tax rate is 0. For a total budget of $37,089,531, and the adopted tax rate is .5109. I have a motion to approve ordinance 2022-OCC-9 on second and third readings. Been moved by Councilwoman Dembski, second by Councilman Kraft. Discussion. And again, these tax rates and budget is subject to the approval of the DLGF, which normally would always, it'll be reduced in some fashion. It is every year. Last year's budget was $33,798,774. Well, and that's number one. That's where the DLGF comes in. If we don't have the funds to support that, they will cut it back. Of that increase, again, the employees went up. The employee raises went up an average of 6.49%, and the additional four salaries was $983,457. So almost $1 million in raises across the board.
Some of that difference will be made up by what's left that's unspent from the year before, correct?
Advisor, with keeping back a 30% cash reserve, we are able to do it because we have been able to do that and we continue to save for many years.
And not all of these, well, let's see here. Got this number. The one you need to really look at the closest is probably the general fund. And that went up to $21,132,522, and the general fund for 22 is $18,597,594. And part of that part of what's gonna come into play is the fact that our assessed valuation, our net assessed valuation went up 11%. So, hmm? Say what?
So just in reading,
Seen any of that? In,
Concerns. I mean, that's what it is.
yeah, but where?
Sales value versus.
You know, and it's liable to go up and down. I think I provided that information a couple of meetings ago. You know, because when the housing market was hot, then prices were going up, and now it's liable to come down. But again, we're on a market-based assessment value, so, you know, there are some purchases being made throughout the county that is really inflating the cost of per acre. I know just in my own neighborhood, which is a very old neighborhood, the prices have gone up. They just skyrocketed. Oh, I'm sure there will be. There always is. Nothing's ever stagnant. But again, if the assessed value went up, the tax rate should come down, which should be reflected in what the DLGF sends back to us.
the 1 million. Or
Not as long as we maintain that 30%, because that's the whole reason to maintain that. Because if the bottom falls out, you can still function for a good, you know, close to 6 months. Because you only get, you know, taxes, property taxes, that levy comes into us twice a year. You need to, if the bottom falls out, you need to have something to retain so you can still meet your expenses, which is why we've done that. And there were times when Donna and I first came on the council, and when Dave was on the council before, we had nothing close to that. I mean, you know, I don't think we ever lived paycheck to paycheck, but it was getting close, so.
And the other part of what that means is by getting this to close to the WIS study and the raises being all over the place, it just means that in the future years, there may not be big raises because we're at a level of uniformity. And if everything goes down, then the county doesn't have money to be able to give big increases. So that might be something different next year.
And I forgot to mention Bill, and I don't ever want to forget Bill. Bill was here that too when we were struggling. Mhm. Well, and some of the situations we have right now were caused because we couldn't give raises, where we went from 40 hours a week to 35 hours a week and things like that. So, you know, we do what we can do, and hopefully we're never in a position where we have to do that again, because that causes problems down the road. And that's why we need to maintain that balance.
Last year he's on, they gave a 2% raise, maybe what, and Stu Ben called him up and said, thank you, because now they're gonna force their council to give them some money, because they hadn't given them a raise for 2 years. And,
I remember those days.
yeah, so I do too. Another thing too, have we been putting money in the rainy day fund?
And we are doing it again next year. That was one of the major discussions we had. We weren't initially going to do that because of the raises that we were giving, but we really need to have that money in there, especially if big projects come along that we need to have a match to it. We have
That's what I
some
thought.
source to
Well,
get it.
Didn't we take some out for the 56 down here to,
The commissioners have money set aside for that.
For that.
So that 20% match is there.
okay,
Because that is other than the highway garage, which is a whole different issue, that project is the biggest one that we have coming up.
yeah, I understand that. I knew that's coming up here. Once they can figure out get through the water spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of today, 834,825.
There have been years where,
300,000. 334,000, yeah, is the appropriation that we
yeah.
put in.
And
in
there
case.
have been years, Amy, where, you know, there is a line item for the sheriff's pension, but that's small portion of it. We have to pay the balance on that. And there have been years where we've taken the money from the rainy day fund or from the riverboat gambling fund, because it's the only place we had the money. We didn't have it anywhere else, so.
You know, Rick, what we're talking about. Look at natural gas prices.
You know, what worries me the most, you know, I know the price is gonna go up, and I've been monitoring mine. But if you didn't see it, you know, the state of California did something with electric vehicles a few weeks ago. They've just passed a new regulation, and many states follow it, preventing the sale of a natural gas furnace after the year 2050, I believe it is. That you must do away with natural gas as a source of heat. So, and I assume that's gonna mean propane also. But it contributes to global warming, and, you know, as far as the electric vehicle thing, there are 17 states that do exactly, by law, within their states, follow whatever California passes. So when 17, now 18 states, if you include California, eliminate this, what are the rest of us gonna do? You know that they're not gonna build furnaces anymore, or at least not in great numbers. That price is gonna go up, and yeah, well, I don't think they allow that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but it just, you know, it's ridiculous, and it's thinking about those things coming along. Yeah, I don't, you know, we need all this electricity now, and I don't think people realize what it takes to generate that electricity. You know, although now I've seen some things, now maybe you're getting out of the business at the wrong time, Bill, because I've seen some things where these guys want to generate all this methane gas from the cattle.
They discussed that at the Energy Summit. They're starting up right now in Indiana. They also discussed
Yeah.
the same ones they put in summer. That's made in Indiana.
That's,
And they're gonna put one in Purdue.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, can we come back to the ordinance, please?
I think Susan's tired. No, actually, no, we can't.
We can't?
No, we can't. All right, is there any other discussion on this? Anything else? Comment from the public? All right. I have a motion, I have a second.
Yes.
All right, then all those in favor of passing ordinance 2022-OCC-9 on second and third reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1. And that takes care of that. And just give me a second here. We'll start this round. All right. All right, that brings us back to our discussion on the 2023 salary and hourly wage ordinance. Bill, you were speaking the last. You want to pick us up there, or?
Let me think a minute.
All right, Susan, were you able to get what that total dollar amount is for the one? 455? All right, and what's the actual increase to the salary? That one person? That 1%, what?
Was the 1% and it was.
Okay, but then what's the insurance? I guess that's what I'm trying to
Depends
do.
what
Is
kind of
what
insurance it
I'm
is.
trying to do is match that up. I mean, that's. Okay. All right. Well, before we go any farther, Nellie, you want to speak to this one?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nellie with the Soil and Water, the district director. I had talked to Bill about concerns after I saw the wage increases for the 3 employees that I supervise. I had requested a 5% increase for them, and it came back at 1%. And seeing that, obviously, I was a little concerned. I don't want to lose any of my employees, especially in the economy we're in right now, and inflation, insurance increases, gas price increases. Times are tough right now, and that's just a concern I had talked to Bill about. And I ended up talking to Rick a little more about so I could understand where you guys were coming with the study. And he said, take a look at job descriptions too, which I didn't know about that either. So that was good information. But yeah, I just wanted to.
And I did talk to Dottie about that yesterday and let her know that you'd be getting in contact with her.
Okay.
The very first year we did, then ever since it waits until the next budget year.
February.
And I talked to
Yeah.
Nellie about that. It needs to be done before April.
Okay. So, but that would have to wait until 2024. Right. Okay.
Remember your mics.
Just on this one particular individual, the difference between the cost of insurance raise and the 1% raise is $157.04. That's the difference. The raise was $455 and the increase in insurance was $612. And I don't have a problem with Donna. I don't have an issue with investigating the job descriptions, whatnot, and moving them up if it's called for. One thing I did talk to Nellie about, though, is that because the job descriptions are put into the categories based on points, that you might raise the points 40, 50, whatever, but not necessarily enough to kick it up from one category to the next category. So a change is possible, but it's not set that it would be into the next group.
And do you know if the company who did the study looked at the job descriptions this time around?
Yes.
Okay.
And they were all provided to them. Am I not correct in that, Dottie?
For this wage study?
Oh, no, for the original job description.
The original job description.
Yeah.
By the job.
Okay. So, any questions you have for Nellie? Let's get, before we make any decisions here, let's move on. I think Jack's got something.
Just a clarification on her question that she just asked, Dottie. She's saying I think the question is, were those revised job descriptions looked at when we did the wage study for this year?
Is-
For the wage, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The new ones, not the old ones, okay.
Already above the external midpoint. All three of them are above the external midpoint for the Pat A.
Currently, what was requested was 47,928. What the study says is 46,101. Currently this year, they're at 45,646, which is why it results in just a 1% increase. So they've been higher the multiple years prior than other.
People in that category.
Yeah.
And the IT would be similar to that, just different numbers. Same situation, different numbers,
Yeah.
different category, different numbers.
Yeah, anything?
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else for Nellie before we move on to Jack? Thank you, Nellie.
Thank you.
Jack?
Jack Smith, IT Director, DeKalb County. Yeah, I've got some concerns based upon my Spillman administrator as well as our help desk administrator only getting about 1.3% of a raise, $750. That equals like $29 a check, and I don't get it. I'm sorry, I just don't get how the wage study can go through and say that they're only they're not any more valuable than that. I'm looking through other numbers here for part-time, and the 2023 adopted was $45,000, is a 26% increase. And I went through and was looking at what I had originally was requesting, and I think it wasn't even close to that amount. So is it possible that we can redistribute the part-time monies into the Spillman administrator, help desk administrator? The monies apparently have already been, or are in the process of already being allocated. I mean, you've got two talented individuals here. John takes care of the entire Spillman system for the county and the cities, with the exception of Auburn, where Christie takes care of that. And then you've got the help desk administrator, that's also the office administrator, and software support for the entire county. And I just think this is too bad. It's just too bad. And they are, based on the monies that they were making this past year, they are just a little bit over the external midpoint, which is apparently the guidelines that the council's using. But man, I don't get it. Thank you.
Is a good thing. I mean, we need to try to be fair across the board. But in today's world, IT, technology, all of those jobs cannot be compared with anything other than IT. And I know I did that. But we're talking midpoint for everybody. I'm thinking for some of those, like an IT, maybe we need to be looking more above the point. Maybe not the highest, but again, I don't think that IT has any comparison. You can disagree with me, but our world runs on this. This is the gas of our world. And so I just think we need to make sure that we're doing this. Trying to be fair. I get all of that.
But our biggest issue with the IT is going to be, we got several people leaving and retiring in the next few years, and we're not going to be able to hire new people at these rates. We just won't.
No.
I mean, they're graduating college and going making way more money than these people are making right out of college.
It just is.
This is a question for Dottie. How do they, on the IT program, compare different guys, set their rate? Because, Jack's a specialist in this. He's had this kind of training. And these other guys have had certain, against different counties, because they're all, and as this office, all trained different to handle different situations. How accurate do you have in this Swiss study that they're comparing the same apples to apples as far as IT? Because, you can all come out of college with a practicality, but, as goes, you're trained on different electronic devices, and I can't see how they can compare from one county to another that way.
They compare the job descriptions with what other counties have. They looked at also, private sector. Private sector's really going gangbusters right now. One of the things that we've forgotten is all the benefits that we have to offer. Now, in the private sector, those people coming right out of school, they're looking at those six figures, and do they get a pension? Well, maybe not. Do they get all the other perks? So, but WIS, I feel pretty confident that they look at all the systems departments, that they listed all the counties, around this area, and then also the private sector. Now, we do have to keep in mind that there are a lot of counties that have one person in charge of all of IS, and they contract everything else out. Allen County is one of those. They have only one person who does that. And so we're very fortunate that we have these individuals, but you're not looking apples to apples because they are different. But they look at the specifics of what the job descriptions have to say, what the duties, what the responsibilities are.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Correct me if I was remembering, I was looking through it real quick last year this time in our budget, and I know it's a different budget, but we did not give the WIS study, and I think the minute said that we give everybody at least a 2% or 2.5% raise, even though we corrected some of the others that was not supposed to get raised.
Was it the 22 budget where you went in and did the projection of where they wanted us to be in 2019 and brought it up to that year's? Was it this year? No. Well,
Just two quick comments. One is the market's moving faster than what government can move on this, because your wages are moving since we've done the WIS study, since that was May. So private sector is moving far faster than this. We've got numbers that were from May, which were looked at probably, February or March when they were actually going through those numbers. And what's happened since then to now is pretty significant out there in the public market. Number two, the opposite side of that is if you have people that are already making above what our market, what our table, our categories say, and you always bump them up when you're trying to correct everybody else, then it never evens out. You're never fair. So that's a struggle in all of this when we go to give extra raises to people that are making above what we say the top category is. So there's a double thing there. One is government moves are very slow, so we're already behind what the market's moving in salaries. But the other thing is if we start picking out people, which I think we need to do something for some of these folks, then the other people will never catch up because you're always pushing the people that are out of range higher.
Well, that's
the whole argument that we used to make about using percentages anyway.
Yeah.
That the people at the higher end are moving up faster than the people at the lower end.
But that, we can also look at, I know this ain't a subject none of us want to talk about, the surveyor's office. To replace the guy that we lost, Nate, it would take at least the quality, at least 10 or 20,000 more than what we actually pay the surveyor. To get a quality guy that we can match, as you say, the outside world. And if we lose like Jack or some of his crew, we're not worried about what we're paying now. What we're going to have to pay to get a second person in there. And if you think we can afford to contract people to help him, then we're getting to need more money.
Well, more money and less service.
Yes.
Right now, we got people, boots on ground right here.
Yes.
That when one of these department heads call, boom, they're able to go and fix that. When you're contracted it out, well, we'll put you in schedule for tomorrow or Thursday or
Next month.
they come and fix that whenever they get here.
Well, I wouldn't mind that if it was considering this TV stuff, if that's next month. But, other than that, I probably would like to have it done right away.
All right. And we can continue this conversation. I don't have a problem with that. But let me throw out a couple of possibilities here. First of all, to deal with these, and I think it's gonna have to be 5 individuals, 2 from IT and 3 from soil and water. Am I right? Am I got the right number? Or is it 3 and 3? 2. Okay, it's 2 and 3. That we move that from 1% to 2%. That be the first
Wasn't it a
first-
flat dollar amount? Wasn't it 750?
Where's
It was a
my
flat dollar
note?
amount for everybody.
IT's was 750,
The 1% raise in the one instance was $455. Now, we could do that. We could give dollars rather than a percent.
We did it, that's why it's 750 in IT, because we did 750. Because they were going to get nothing, I remember. They were going
Okay.
to get zero.
Okay, so the one, I'll make the same.
Yeah, and and we're gonna deal with that in my next point. But we can do either a dollar amount or we can do a percentage. But in the case of at least this one, that dollar amount has got to be over $612. Got to be 750, 1,000, whatever, and do something similar with the IT people. Now, that's issue one. That's only a suggestion. Issue two, and this is going someplace that I have never wanted to go and I've always objected to. But in looking at what some of the other counties are doing to combat some of this that actually this one individual finds herself in, is that we alter our personnel policies to include a stipend for longevity and do it based on either 5-year increments or 5 and then 10 and then 20, jumping from 10 years to 20, and making that longevity stipend outside of the salary. That's where we don't want to get it in, is we don't want it to be in the salary because that really messes up the percentages and all the other things. But it would be a stipend similar to what the council president and the commissioner's president get X number of dollars extra per pay for that position. If you change that position, then the new person gets it. And we do the same thing with longevity. And that would be something that would have to happen in the future, and we'd have to turn it over to the HR committee and then let the HR committee work on that with Dottie. But that would address some of the issues we've had coming back at us from people that have been with us for 15, 20 years and are still making what, in some cases, what a new person coming in would be making.
I personally really like that, the second part, the stipend thing for longevity for two reasons. Number one, they're showing loyalty. There's all kinds of jobs out there they can go get. Tons of jobs are competing for our people. So they're showing loyalty to us. And number two, it takes so much time and energy and money to train somebody new to come in and run something if they haven't had any experience in that. And you got somebody that's leaving it, it's been there for 5 or 10 years, they're taking all that knowledge with them. I mean, it just is a lot of work for a department head to train somebody that's brand new and fresh that over somebody that 5 or 10 years, I would think.
And if we do it as a stipend, it's a separate line item in each one of the departments. And if that person with 20 years' experience getting that stipend leaves and we bring in somebody new, that new person doesn't get it until they've been here 5 years, 10 years, whatever.
Yeah. That's a few.
All three of them would be in this category. It depends on what we'd come up with. Well, at least 2 of them would be in that, where there would be the extra stipend. Well, that's not to address the immediate problem. That's to address what employees have brought up to us as being an ongoing problem. The immediate problem is the first suggestion. Either we give them a dollar amount or we give them a percentage for these 5. That's the immediate issue.
But will that open up other issues with maybe other staff who are only making a 1% raise, but now we're talking about giving a 2% raise to some other employees because their benefits? I feel like we're just opening up another can of worms then, because maybe somebody's not making, they're not already making 2%, they're only making 1%. Now we're gonna add more employees on top of that. I don't know, but
The,
avoid
and
seeing more issues.
I understand what we're saying, because that was exactly my concern, and I expressed that to a couple of people, that we do this for one, and how many other places does it open up that we don't know about right now? But,
The salary wage ordinance needs to be,
So what you can do is you can adopt this.
no,
Only on the first
We're
reading.
doing second and third now.
Let me think about this.
and amend it later?
Well, we've
I
already-
don't think we have to do this right now. It's
Okay,
not
the budget.
it's not a public hearing, and it's not a DLGF requirement. I don't think that we have to do this one
The budget was what happened.
today. It was the Form 3s that had to be done today, because I only have so much time to get it to them. But this is just something that, once you guys adopt it or change it or whatever, and then finally adopt it, then I just upload it just as a courtesy so they have it, but it's not a. As long as you guys have this figured out, ready to roll, and it is adopted before the end of this year, we're fine. If it's not, then come January, our first paycheck, nobody's getting anything, because we don't have a salary
Well,
ordinance.
don't forget, in this ordinance, they all have to get their evaluations done, or they don't get a raise anyway, because that's in the ordinance. The evaluations have to be done first.
No,
Dottie?
I didn't say it wouldn't be, it's not gonna be on me, they don't come to
Dottie,
me.
Dottie says no.
And she has many forms. I mean, it doesn't all have to be the same form. She's got many different options for people. They just have to do the work.
Correct.
We have good department heads and and that's the other thing. Now, in a 3-person or 5-person office, yes, the department head's probably going to do it. But we have different departments that have many supervisors, many employees. The department head doesn't have to do every evaluation. The department head can assign a supervisor to do the evaluations of their employees. The department head needs to sign off on the work that's done, but the supervisor can do that. It can be part of their job.
Well, more than think about it, can we get the data on, how much work would it be to find out how many other employees only got 1%, or, I mean,
Now, the one thing you got to be careful of is that some categories look like they only got a 1% raise,
Because
but they're not currently making the top dollar. So there's room to move up.
right.
They may have room to move up 3% or 4%. It's the ones that are at the top now of what was appropriated and then going 1%. So you were asking, this is the whole thing. There's always so much detail to get to.
It
So,
does seem like we're catching up a little bit, because some of these folks got 6-10% raises because they were so far down. And you got some people at the top of that midpoint, or maybe just a little bit over. If you're giving them a 1% or a 2%, those other people are still catching up a lot if they're getting a 6 or a 10% raise.
right.
The percentage don't grow if you give this one an error and this one 2%. Their increase is 2.5% over the lower one. So I think hyphens
Longevity.
longevity.
Yeah, it's a whole system we got to develop.
Let's remember too that we're asking taxpayers to pay this. Taxpayers who are suffering with the inflation, with the high gas rates, with.
Just come out and talk to some farmers around me. You find out they want more quality people.
Sure, I understand that.
I don't think they'd mind. They pay someone.
I think we're talking about a specific office, for sure. I mean, I think that's a specific office, but at the same time, I mean, I know that we're concerned about the employees and their pay, and I am too, and I want to make sure that they all get paid what they're worth. But the reality is that there are people in the community who are also taxpayers who are not, who are in the same situation because they're not getting pay raises, or the gas is eating up all of their inflation or all of their increase. So we have to find a good balance. That's all I'm saying. So
These are all points that need to be considered. Dottie, you want to go ahead?
And here's another point to be considered. I just wonder if the real issue, would we still be having this discussion if the commissioners hadn't passed along such a large increase on the health plan premiums to our employees?
And I understand your point there, but I think we need to remember that we've had increases yearly, and the commissioners have not passed that increase on to the employees.
For 3 years.
And for 3 years. And I think the employees try, but, you know, we need to have our workforce get healthier. And, I heard a lot of complaints about, well, this place or that place has lower premiums. Well, in some cases, that workforce is younger, which, our folks can't do anything about that. I mean, we are what we are. But then the other workforce is either smaller or is meeting, they're in a healthier situation than what ours is. So, we really need all of our employees to work with us to get healthier. That's going to affect their paycheck. And it's just the bottom line. It's going to affect their paycheck.
I don't know what all of the hours are for the departments, but is it an option for them if they're only a 35-hour work week to work 40 hours to help them make up that extra difference, working that extra 5 hours a week? Is that an option for them to help them kind of cover? Since I think we made the 35-hour work week based on the idea that we couldn't pay, right? We were at a point in history where we couldn't pay, but at this point then, if we're moving to where we are paying, what's the acceptable rate out in the community, then do we have to stick to that 35-hour work week, and can they work an extra 5 hours to kind of help bridge that gap for them in the insurance?
Personally, I think that would be unfair to the employees.
To work extra 5 hours?
Well, and we have said that extra 5 hours is available rather than hiring additional staff, which would be an expense to us. In addition to hiring additional staff and that hourly amount, we would also have benefits that would have to be paid. So we've said to the department heads, use that 5 hours if you need more staff rather than hire new people. But to tell the people now that they need to work an extra 5 hours so that they can have more money, it's available, but I'm very uncomfortable with that. It just seems unfair to the employee.
I
Well,
agree.
let's look at it this way. Let's say they're making $25 an hour. That's an extra $500 that comes out of overtime pay and everything.
Not overtime, but it's.
It wouldn't be paid.
That wouldn't be overtime.
It would be in that
Yeah, it'd
category.
be in that
But
category. Yeah, time.
it may be more money than what we can give them, and it may
Yeah.
be more money, it may be more than the percentage or the dollar amount that we can give them.
Well, and then you gotta think of, if they're getting their work done in 35 hours, why would we tell them to work an extra 5 hours?
I don't
So
know.
they
I
can
mean,
make more
if there's
money.
work at my place of work, there's always something to do.
Yeah.
Everybody can find 5 more hours work.
You know, and in some cases, that's true, but you have other departments that, because of what they do, that's not available
Maybe.
to them, so. Yes, Jack?
And we're available 24/7. Weekends. So telling my folks, you know, if you want a couple more bucks, you're going to have to put another 5 hours in.
No.
Well, that makes sense. So it wouldn't apply to your department then?
All right, I think,
I
you know,
have
I
a
think.
question. Does
Oh,
IT,
yeah.
does IT have a schedule as to where certain people are on call? Or is everyone just, because that's, that everybody's always on?
All day.
Some of the departments have on-call. That's
Yeah.
why I was wondering if there was a schedule where certain people. I have another question regarding insurance. I know, and it used to be, when I worked in manufacturing before, our insurance provider had some perks for like healthy initiatives. Whether it was walking program or if you were involved in certain exercise classes or something like that. Does our insurance provider have any of that they offer as a perk for off of what your premium would be? No.
Anthem has a program that it's a voluntary program, and the member can get involved in it, and they earn points, which are then converted to gift cards. But you can't take any discount off of the premium, at least because we are a fully insured plan. Perhaps if we were self-insured or partially self-insured, that could happen. And that we could put into place with healthy initiatives, doing a variety of things, people hitting certain marks, with their, with their blood pressure or their diabetes or whatever it might be. It's just a different animal when you are fully insured. You are under the, whatever the insurance company tells you. So they have it in it, but it's only voluntary. And we don't have all that many employees who are a part of it.
These are allowed to, in what's called a wellness program. You earn points. You earn points from the wellness program and up to a $250 gift card, which is put on your W-2 and taxed. But that's the incentive, is that $250 gift card. But it is a program, and it is something that we, as a county, could probably institute. But yes, there are wellness programs that reward.
All right, anybody else have any comments on this? David?
I've been kind of silent. It was mentioned, and it brought up that maybe going from a 35 to 40-hour week, and how at some point you might have to be creative to find work to do. Could that not be viewed then as maybe being overstaffed in some areas then, if we do that? And I think that's a caveat need to be careful on.
It's possible.
Media. Don't kill me, for God's sake.
And Amy,
It's okay.
Amy,
It's just an
that is exactly what, no, now look, we have very few opportunities to have discussion and throw out different ideas, and that needs to be talked about. It needs, hey, this is it. I mean, let's talk about it. And if we shoot it down, we shoot it down. If we promote it, we promote it, but we got to talk about it. It's got to be open. Dottie?
Well, the commissioners had a survey that went out a couple months ago to all of our employees, and it was anonymous. The employees came back overwhelmingly that they would prefer staying. Those employees who are in departments who are currently working 35 hours came back overwhelmingly, don't change it. It's 35 hours. Now, the commissioners did talk about it and decided that if a department head wanted to increase their department hours to 40 hours a week, you certainly could do that. We did that last year with the surveyor's office because of the comments that the surveyor's office needed to get out there, they needed to get more work done. And so what I heard from a couple of the department employees is that they felt like they got a raise because they got to work an extra 5 hours and they got more money. So that's what happened with the commissioners talking with the department heads, that it's going to be left to the department heads to figure out, do you really need a 40-hour work week? They would prefer not to hire another employee to, pick up the slack, just work more hours. And when we're talking that overtime budget, there's a little bit, most people think overtime, time and a half, but for maybe less than 100 of our employees who work 35 hours a week, it's, time and a half is any time worked over 40 hours worked in a work week. So that overtime doesn't really happen. It would be straight time for those
But it is
5
coming out of
hours.
it is coming out of a line item that's marked.
That's marked overtime. Yeah.
Maybe we ought to call it extra time. But,
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever. But,
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I know you're
Yeah.
correcting me, but that's what I meant. It's not what I always say, it's what I mean.
It's what you meant.
I
well,
think, too,
in the
when
case,
we're-
excuse
Yeah,
me, Amy,
no,
go
you're
ahead.
fine. So I feel like it's just a can of worms. But when you're talking, some departments are working 40 hours a week and others are working 35. 35 hours is essentially 10 hours or 10 months worked instead of 12. So when we're trying to come across as being fair and even, we're not really doing that. So I think that at least has to be out on the table as well.
Well, and, my only issue is the fact that if the department is getting their work done in 35 hours, adding 5 hours of work to them, to their schedule, if they don't have the extra work is
understand that.
certainly not
Yeah.
necessary. In the case of the surveyor's department, they had a huge backlog. They needed more time. Well, actually, this took place in the circuit court, or in the courts also, because they were working more than 35 hours, but only getting paid for 35. And that can't happen either. So it needs to be based on the work that's available. All right, unless there's more, I think we're going to do two things. We do not meet again, and it's on the bottom of your agenda. We don't meet again until November. We don't have an October meeting. So in the meantime, let's pull the information for these 5 individuals, and let's look and see if there are others that might be in this same category. That's going to take a little while to get that taken care of. And so that we can address it at our November meeting. I don't think we want to wait until December because everybody will be in they're back up against the wall if we wait till December, knowing what's going to happen on January 1. So let's try to address it in November. Secondly, I would like the HR committee to meet and talk about the longevity issue and see whatever system they might come up with, what it would affect us as far as dollars. And we can address that either in November or December. That doesn't have to wait until that. If it's not in effect on January 1, it's okay because we've got time to work with it. But if you can address that, and we'll see what we can do to bring this together. Is that acceptable with everyone?
With the longevity, the nice thing is you can start it small and then we can grow, even if it's something,
Exactly.
it's a little extra that person gets for being here.
Yep. They need to be rewarded for those that have been with us. So Nellie, Jack, I'm sorry that we didn't do anything with this today. It did get us a good conversation, and hopefully we're going to come up with something that is acceptable to everyone. But it's not going to be until November. Okay? And you will go ahead and continue to work on those job descriptions. Very good. All right. Mike, do you have anything from the commissioners that you would like to talk about?
Just briefly, we are moving ahead with the bot project on the highway garage with team meetings. We selected a group to do that project. It'll probably be 3 or 4 weeks before we'll have actually hard numbers to bring you to talk about the financial end of things. I had intended to ask you at this meeting to make 2 appropriations out of the ARPA fund, one for the volunteer fire departments that we had committed to them, and another one for Sunny Meadows. There are some things moving around out there that we need some funding for. Obviously, my secretary missed the memo, and I didn't get those in time. So I will be asking for those approvals at the November meeting. That's all.
And there, with the retirement of the director at Sunny Meadows, there may be issues we have to address there. And we are going to take a deep dive into Sunny Meadows and the expenses and whatnot that are associated there. So, any questions for Mike or comments? Or?
I got one comment, even though Donna told me to shut up so she can get out of here.
You promised.
I told her I promised we'd be out here by 20 and I wouldn't make comments.
He wasn't going to let anybody else talk.
Yeah, I tried to shut this down, but I was being pressured over here by 2 ladies. Now, my comment is, and I've hit it a lot this week, is we didn't, and I'm just gonna say this, we didn't give the horse buggies a license, but yet we turned around and the guys who wanna fix tile along the road and fix stuff, since we can't get the surveyor out there, we are gonna be penalized with fines and costs to get permits to do it. That's been the biggest complaint calling into me, is why do we have to have permits to dig up tile along the road? And then we didn't, and
if you're talking about the boring ordinance, that has to do with going under the road.
yeah, but it also said in the paper that it was, if you dug alongside the road, we have to have permits.
I don't think that's.
Didn't it?
I don't think that's.
I got the, I don't my truck.
I don't think that's
So
correct.
what you're saying is it's Andy's fault.
Yeah, it's the paper's fault. And Donna said it, not me.
I don't think that's correct.
Well, anyway, that's the calls that came in to me.
The ordinance is about boring under the road and marking those spots where it's under, because those private borings under the road are not located by the 811 group. So that in order to keep us from going through a gas line or a electric line or something when they're doing highway work, that's what that ordinance was about.
Well, I need to know that, because I was told that was, we had, because there's several people that they can't get the county out to fix the tile, so they're just gonna fix it themselves. That runs right along the road.
Yeah.
They're not gonna go underneath.
No, that only applies to boring underneath.
Okay, that's all I need, but see, that's what my information came to me was through the fact that they had to have permits to do that. So I can call them.
Just give them my phone number, Bill.
Oh, I got it, I will.
Yeah. Now, we can spend about 30 minutes talking about the
Okay.
horse-drawn vehicle ordinance, if you'd like.
Now, we don't need to today. We can get together and do that, because Donna's kicking me over here and wants to move on.
All right, Mike, I did have a conversation with Jeff Peters yesterday afternoon, and he would like the documentation as soon as we get that together for the bot, for the highway project.
Yeah, as soon as we get that. And just as a point of clarification, just because we picked this particular group We have not signed a contract with them, and we will not sign a contract with them until they have a full presentation with hard dollars and all of the associated details that go along with that. If we're happy with that, we'll sign a contract with them, and then the financing will come to you. If we don't like what they present, we toss them out and start all over again. Okay.
All right. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to discuss before we adjourn? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same. Thank you. We are adjourned. I don't want to.